I really think that anyone on the path, we're all on a path,
Right.
but I would say the path is if you're moving towards self-actualization of some form, which is having like some form of inner witness and the ability to not go, flip out if people insult you, to be able to take on criticism, to be able to let people have space to be, Alan Watts talks about like the revolving door.
I love it.
Which
Doors
is
of
like,
perception.
you've got awareness, unawareness, and
Right.
a lot of people get stuck in this door where they never actually go through. They just have flashes of awareness.
What's good? Welcome back. Beyond the Hustle, episode 13? Something like that. 13, we never know. But that's a nice number, though. 13 is a crazy number.
Yeah.
That's a deep number.
Yeah.
13 is fire. And we're here with Jamie MacGregor, hailing from the epic lands of Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here in Taipei, Taiwan, live at Core Cultural Studios. As you know, Beyond the Hustle, we're gonna travel a little deep today, and I'm happy to be here, sitting with. I would even go as far to say as a young creative visionary, because I've looked at some of your work, temporary truth, and how do you say it officially? The temporary truth.
A temporary truth creative, yeah.
Temporary truth creative. It's funny because the first thing that came to mind was about to say collective or coalition.
Yeah.
Because looking at what you've been doing, I feel like you're kind of creating like a creative army almost. I feel like there are these layers of community. There's these layers of kind of collective thought that is just, I think you're pushing the limits in Taiwan. So I would start there first. Like, what brought you to Taipei, Taiwan?
I think when I was a kid, I was kind of like into Asia, I remember.
Nice.
Like when I was just in like elementary school.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think I remember like in like primary school, like the last year of school, we had like you had to do like a project on a country, and I think mine was like China. I think I just like Chinese food. I don't think there was any other like reason, but my dad hated it. He would just get really annoyed that I always wanted to eat Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, because like Scotland is, we have a lot of Chinese from Hong Kong, because it's Britain, right?
Right.
So loads of Chinese food, a lot of Indians as well, mostly.
Right.
But we don't really have like, not so many black people in Scotland though.
Right.
So it's kind of like this, it's very like normal to see a lot of Chinese, a lot of like Indians and stuff.
So that's like that first culture clash, or that first world that's kind of like foreign to you. It's like,
yeah, I'm not sure. I think I just kind of always was interested to kind of go somewhere else. I think my mom and my dad, my mom's English, my dad's Scottish, and actually they actually met in New York.
really? That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York City.
Yeah. That's where I was also conceived. So,
Really? My G, you a New Yorker?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, they actually both moved over there in like a summer camp that was like looking after people with like mental health difficulties.
Wow.
And then they didn't really know each other there. And then they ended up working at Mount Sinai,
Yeah.
both of them,
Really? Wow.
where they were like, oh, I kind of recognize you. And then,
I like this. I like where this is headed.
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Little
So
New York, very Woody Allen-esque, little New York love story.
I mean,
Mount Sinai is the backdrop.
yeah, I mean, I think my mom said she fell in love with my dad because he was one of the only people that would deal with the really difficult patients. So like the physically violent ones, the people that no one could calm down.
Oh, wow.
So I think she just saw that he was willing to go through that with them.
Right.
But then, they got a little bit too excited, and then my mom got pregnant. And then, back then, this is like 86.
Yeah.
So at the time, you would do the right thing, right? You would go home, get married, do the do, right? But I don't think either of them were really ready. They're both 21, so they weren't really ready for it. And then, they ended up divorcing when I was in elementary.
Really.
But
Also, I've been through a divorce
Yeah.
myself. I mean, not personally, but parents as well.
yeah,
So
yeah, and I think
connotations.
yeah, but this is about like why have I ended up like halfway across the world? I think my dad was always like, my dad never wanted to go back to the UK.
Mm.
He wanted to live in New York.
Mm.
And so he's kind of like, I think he was like, son, you should travel the world, son. Don't stay in Scotland.
Yo,
like basically,
get out,
yeah, basically.
get out of the
'cause he's
pastures.
like, he would say stuff like, I never would have stayed here, And
That's
then my mom also
interesting.
actually really big traveler as well.
That's fire. That's fire.
She became like a nurse and then a doctor, and she went like all over the world. She did a lot of research papers and things like that. So she's
Right.
actually extremely well traveled for a woman of like her age and
Blessings.
everything. So
That's amazing.
yeah, I'd say that's how I ended up in Taiwan. There's a lot of details in the middle.
No, I love it. I mean,
I
that's
think that's the real answer.
a wonderful I guess you can say, establishing foray of the inner makings that I'm sure we're going to dive into today. I mean, Armel usually cuts in right at the sweet spot, but I have a feeling we're going to go super deep because we just went deep. And you saying that already makes me think of my own father and seeing his first like old school photo album with the plastic, the wooden photo album. He's not that old, but he had the black and white photos from Taipei, and that hits me sometime. And you're a photographer, creative director, videographer, documentarian. I've also had some experience in those fields. So essentially, it's great to sit next to a fellow storyteller and dive deep and into the makings of who we are as storytellers and why do we tell stories. So again, thank you for being on the show. Jamie MacGregor's here in the building, and I think it's gonna be a good one, man. Feel free to open up. It's a safe, comfy, crazy space that we have here. I think the only thing we're missing is, like you said, little mushrooms, little mushroom tea. Have you ever taken any psychedelics before?
Yeah.
What kinds?
Only the legal ones, of course.
Just testing you. Just
Yeah.
testing you. You passed. All right,
Yeah.
cool. But I do have some. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. So on that notion, I'm really curious about what motivates you, what drives you, what's your why?
I think it depends on what aspect you're kind of talking about of your life, right? Because like I'd say like we have different quadrants of our life, right? There's like your work, relationships, career, like spirituality, like finances, family, right? Play, right? I think the main thing was like with Temporary Truth was this sort of concept of when you take a photo, right? You're like freezing like a moment in time, right? And if you're doing anything documentary related or street photography, which is where I started,
Right.
you sometimes might take like 50 photos of one person in the street. And then you've got like, when you're looking at them side by side in the editing, you might be like, this one they're laughing, this one they're scowling. I've had the same person scowl at me, be like, don't fucking take my photo. Like,
Right.
But then,
Let me post
5 minutes later,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, and so it's like the same when you see like men, at a bar, they have a fight and they're like fist fighting outside. And then like, half an hour later, they're like hugging, buying each other drinks.
Right.
So like, what is the reality there?
Right.
Like which one was true? And it's all true, but it's all not. So this is kind of where Temporary Truth sort of came from.
I see. Temporary truth.
Because it's like it's you've made something through video or photography, you've made something not temporary. Right?
Yeah.
And you've also kind of made it not true because it's just a snapshot. It's like a tiny piece.
I imagine like little vials of the ocean.
Yeah, it's like it's just one drop, right? So the drop doesn't define the ocean, but in a way it does, right?
But it is a temporary.
Yeah.
Right. It is a truthful
yeah
representation, but it can't possibly tell the whole story.
Right. You can lie with these sort of mediums very easily. So I think like that also leads into commercials and like being authentic and these kind of things. But the main sort of my why, I think I thought about it like a lot. Maybe I didn't really have one. I don't think. Maybe 8 years ago. I don't think it was clear to me exactly what it was. But I think the main thing is about asking people to reconsider what is true, what is the truth, like, and perhaps, you know, have a bit more space within themselves to accept that maybe their current beliefs or their current state of the world is not actually an absolute truth that is fixed and set in stone.
Right.
Right. So it's about awakening people to possibilities in their life, and also about like just letting people be a bit more gentle, a bit more playful with themselves. I would say that's kind of who I am as a person, which I guess is a why. Yeah. So, you know, it's like I had a more rehearsed, you know, evoking the, you know, freedom within yourself to be, but it's not. It's just like
you flowing.
Yeah, just like life is like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things you think are true through your life, and then they always change. It's like when you're a kid, right? Yeah. You're watching like Teletubbies or something, right? And if you're a teenager, you watch Teletubbies, you're like, that's dumb. But when you're a kid, you loved it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It
so
was
it's
infinite.
a temporary truth, right? It's just
Temporary
that's
truth.
life, man. So like,
it's beautiful.
Always be aware of this in what you're doing. You know,
I think it's really cool that you're tapping into a lot of very at least from my point of view. I'm half Taiwanese, half Hungarian, Czech. My father was Jewish. I'm a whole melting pot of temporary truths, but I do get a lot of ancient Oriental Chinese wisdom from you, just from the fact that you established a company on those principles of impermanence and, Zen philosophy, the idea that nothing lasts forever, but you have to play, you have to be present. So that's really cool that, earlier you were talking about being in Scotland and a lot of these influences were kind of soaking in, but you felt like you had to go out and see it for yourself, taste it for yourself. And it makes me ask my next question, which is, once you do have that why that motivates you, are there any philosophies that you feel inspired that why?
What do you mean?
Like, I guess I would say when I say philosophies, I mean like, were there any, perhaps a book or something you read? Could be something your father said. It could have been like in passing. I don't know, but I do sense like, was there something that like sparked that, like take me back to that aspect of like, I'm moving to Taiwan. I'm pursuing this dream. I'm gonna create.
I think after I went to university for 1 semester, and passed all my exams just to prove the point that I'm not gonna leave because I'm lazy. I'm gonna leave because this is a massive waste of time. I think just the game in general that most people play, as like Tony Robbins says, you sleep in your box. In your box room, you get up, you go downstairs and get your box breakfast out of your box. Then you get in your box car and you drive to your box office where you talk on a box, do all your work on a box. Then you go back home, sit in a box and watch your box. And that's most people's lives is literally like that, and you get told this lie that if you study hard and you work hard, you will be rewarded, and it's simply not the case. And you go to elementary school, nursery, like university is no higher level than kindergarten in the way that you're taught and the way that you learn. And don't get me wrong, if you're a doctor or like an engineer or something, you're learning something that has hyper specific skills,
etc.
Yeah, like with tons of rules where it's literally like books. Yes.
Right.
Science. Yes. Right. Like social science, like philosophy, English. Like if you want to do business, be an entrepreneur, you go to get an MBA. Like, nah.
That's fascinating. It's like,
man. Like you look at most of the millionaires are almost all self-made, right? They're not trustafarians. It's not from mommy and daddy's.
Yeah, that's a big
bank
misconception
book.
that people think that it's always passed down or inherited, but no, the stats actually are in favor of self-made.
Absolutely, like overwhelmingly.
Yeah,
and most of them didn't go to uni.
Right.
almost all of them are dropouts,
Right.
you know, because they're like, well, this is pointless. You know, like if you read
Si-
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Sigma male. These are like Sigma males, you know?
Yeah.
These are like carve your own path kind of type of people. Do you feel like you identify with like would you feel like you're like I'm going this way? Were you always like that?
I was always like that, but now I am actually moving away from it in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah, because so I've always been more sort of a jack of all trades kind of to some extent, right?
Mhm.
So I like to do a lot of different things at once,
Mhm.
right? So I'll do some investment on this here, and then I'll have like, oh, now I'm playing with like real estate the last 2 years. Before
Nice.
that was like crypto for like 3 years. Then before that, I opened like a restaurant with some people. Then before that was a bar.
Nice.
Then before that was Temporary Truth.
Right.
Right. Like I just there's like 2-year projects that go on with me where I like rabbit hole on something
Right.
and get to like B- at it.
Right.
Right. So now I've got all these different like sort of different income streams and like knowledge that I have, right? But there are some truths I think that I'm because of my nature I've been reluctant to accept that business and life there are some absolute truths.
Yes,
actually,
of course.
right? And if you're B- at 10 things is worth way less than being A+ at like one thing, because
Right.
if you're in top 10% of something, the stats are there, right? You
feel
get
like you're doing one
so
thing,
much
yeah.
better return on being the master at something than all these other things. Might not be as much fun,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah, but maybe it will be. And the recent transition is more accepting that not everything should be done in your way, you know,
Right.
because then you're actually moving into being egotistical, because then you're ignoring data and you're not listening to like the greats.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing what they said.
Mm-hmm.
So I found like had a bit of double standard there, where if it's like Taoism, right?
Yeah.
I'll read a Taoism book and I'll be like, whoa, this is the truth.
Yeah.
But then I'll read some
This is
business
the
book
way.
and I'll read a business book and I'll be like, well, I think I could do it this way, you know. And sometimes you can,
Right.
but I think there's like a balance between knowing when you're ignoring evidence to
Right.
suit your own story of this is why I'm not successful, or this is why I don't get what I want,
Right.
or I'm just gonna do it this way. And the other side where it's like, okay, like it's actually like this.
I mean, that's interesting too, because especially right now, 2024, we're kind of at the, we're at the what I feel like is at like the base of this next mountain that we as a people are going to hike together with the advent of AI technology, the collapsing of mainstream media trust, right? The increase of internet technology, content creation at the tip of our fingerprints, fingertips. So we're at this super crazy time, so pivotal that I feel like we're, on one hand, yes, there are masters who are experts at their craft. And then on the other hand, there are people trapped in a box. And in the middle, I feel like there are people like us, creatives who are well-versed in art and culture, but who are also dabbling in business. And I think we're trying to find our, I guess, I don't want to say, like, I feel like we have a purpose, but I feel like we're trying to find our contribution. What are we going to contribute in this next cycle? What do you think that might be for like creatives like ourselves who are well versed? I love that you say B-. Interesting, because it shows that you're aware, and you want to take it to an A. Imagine if we were jack of all trades and we was hitting A's across the board. I think that's going to be possible with the next advents of. What do you think about that?
No, you cannot be.
It's counterintuitive. I see.
It's you want. I want to believe it.
Yeah,
but it's not true. There's no one who's, unless the only way you can be A's across the board is if you hire or work with other A's.
Right.
But you cannot. And
right.
hire
the experts.
Right, because if you're doing everything, for sure you're not doing everything well.
Right.
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 Yeah. And I think it's just the way I learned, right? Because I'm entirely self-taught, creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned from YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was extremely difficult for the first few years. Like it was really hard because I don't know anything about business. I have really terrible technical skills.
Right.
And I was a bit of a whiny bitch actually in my like 20s.
Really?
Yeah. So fucking
You're just ready to.
like, you know, like why are they successful? Why am I not? Like, you know,
Which is a fire. That's a fire in itself.
It's like Alex Hormozy said, right? There's like certain central characteristics of successful people,
Right.
which is like, one, you actually think you're better than you are,
Right.
but you're also really insecure.
Right.
Then you're obsessive about
Right.
something.
Yeah.
And then in order to be successful, you need to reduce your insecurity, understand where your ego is like peaking in areas it's not. You think you're A and you're not. And then you need to start to learn something which is impulse mastery. So that's like emotional control, as well as not, you know you should do this thing, but instead you go and, you know, go clubbing, or you just
Right.
stare at the wall, or you
Right.
go and play video games or something like that, right?
Right.
Like I think this was like a thing that a lot of people go through, and a lot of like very successful creatives that I know definitely really struggling with this still, but they've just not got over. They're stuck in their ego telling them that they're better than this, but then their insecurity driving them behind. So that's why there's a lot of troubled artists. You don't need to be troubled to be a successful artist. It's actually that perfect combination of insecurity plus superiority complex and obsession. Like that triangle drives you to just go for it.
Right.
And I think it's okay for a while, you know, but if you stay like that, that's how you end up these like crazy like alcoholics, or like smoke weed every day, or like, you know, just like hyper anxious, right? And it's not like I don't think good creative comes from this. I think like successful people can come out of it. But I don't think they're really...
Yeah, that pain is real. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Rejection is necessary.
Rejection, I mean, that's one of the things as well, right? That's why I think being a creative and working in creative space is actually quite good for you, because you are rejected like non-stop, right?
Right. You built that callus.
Like clients, right? Other creatives,
all
like
day.
People tell you you're wrong all the time. Like, oh man, is non-stop rejection. And I think like another thing about successful creatives, the people that don't, sorry, I shouldn't say don't, the people that find it more difficult to get up after they've been knocked down tend to not also be successful. Because if you take it personally and you can't detach the work from yourself, you're not gonna make it. Because if it's taking you a month to get over something and it took someone else 5 minutes,
You said 5 minutes.
they just go,
not even a day. One breath.
you know, just one riff. Okay,
we back.
we'll get the next one, right? Obviously it's still there, but that ability to be like, okay guys, like let's move on, like on the spot, those people, you know, cruise. But they might not be more talented. They might have less talent, creative talent, right? So it's just like, it's really like, I feel like to be successful or whatever is just a mixture of sort of a lot of different elements. But we weren't talking about success. We're supposed to be talking about contribution. So let's get back to the question.
Right.
Contribution, I think for me, I got into this because of connection. Like I really enjoyed the sort of meditative process. I have an extremely busy mind. So the meditative process of taking photos and doing like street photography.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, like there's like, you can walk down the same street for 10 years.
And see something like, different every time.
Is that drain pipe was that color? I didn't realize I had a purple drain pipe on my street, because your brain is designed to filter out anything that it sees, you know, more than like 10, 20 times. It goes, okay, this is no longer important, dangerous or special. So I'll just zone it out.
Right.
And then photography made me like, it was like, whoa, as if I'd been reborn kind of.
It teaches you how to see again.
Right. And then this
intentional
process,
seeing, essentially.
Like it's like really like meditation for me.
Oh yeah.
And it just, and then connecting with strangers. So I did a lot of almost all documentary work. And in a way, like for me, this was a kind of contribution sort of, because you're meeting these people and spending time with strangers. And like there's this bizarre connection. Like, you know, at the time my Chinese is not good, and I go to other countries where I don't speak any language and they don't either. and I've sat with people for like hours that I
Right.
don't know,
Right.
just sitting there like doing what they do.
Right.
You know, like in Vietnam, I sat with some old guy for like 3 hours. Neither of us speak a word of whatever. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to be this old guy.
Right.
You know, I just sit with him and we're just watching people go by. And he just sits there chewing like sunflower seeds. And I'm like, It's like, you know, being someone else is so it's fascinating.
Being John Malkovich.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know, it's that I'm right there with you. You know, I feel like there's an endorphin rush that you actually get from meeting new people. If you are perhaps in the realm of an extroverted nature, of course, some people are like socially anxious. They want to be more extroverted. I've had so many friends and clients who I've helped with confidence issues in situations where they don't know, they close up. They're scared to talk. They're so afraid of the unknown. I think I can already sense, like, you know, me and you outside of this, I'm sure we're gonna have some fun. But, you know, I love approaching people. I love those moments where you're almost in the wild, and like you talk about that old man, and it's almost like he's his own animal creature, and he's just pure existing. He's gotten to such a point where he's him, and I think that fascinates people who are in this busy like, right? It fascinates those people, but only the people like yourself will have the courage to shed and just like, who can sit there next to a guy and do nothing for 30 minutes? It's usually a photographer, a documentarian. So that leads to my next question, which is, what role do you think, you know, photographers, documentarians, storytellers, writers, what roles do we have for society? Sorry, what do you think our role is?
I think story is like the oldest medium, right? It's the medium by which everything has been passed down before reading, before writing. That's why everyone is so susceptible. Like, your brain is hardwired to digest story, right? That's why it's cinema, books, all this stuff, right? And I feel like it's definitely an art to, like, you know, telling stories and things like that. I mean, like, through Temporary Truth, we're trying to focus on doing like brand storytelling, because like there's a lot of brands that actually do have something to say, but they don't know how to say it, or they really lack the courage to say it.
Right.
And I feel like things move really fast now, and like everyone is so tempted to get vanity matrix, like race to the bottom, like, you know, I want ROI now. And I feel like not just brands, but I feel like everyone is being pushed into this sort of faster and faster kind of, like, you know, instant gratification. And I think like the implications of this for, you know, most people is, like more surface level sort of interactions, I guess. And I think the push to quickness, is definitely it's an issue, I think. But also, you know, usually when the pendulum swings,
right,
it goes back the other way, right?
Heavy.
So after massive liberal periods, it goes massively conservative, right? And then it'll go back. So with everything going faster, there is a chance that it will swing back the other way in a slow. But I think if you're a creative, if you're anyone actually, finding like what is interesting about you, or if that's difficult, what interests you, like what you're curious about, and finding ways to communicate that, because everyone loves a good story, right? And everyone loves a good storyteller, you know. And someone's really good, everyone's, you know, the whole room goes quiet and everyone's like, oh, like all excited. So, but I think it's about like, what do you want to say, right? And why is that important to you? I think like as creative, like our responsibility, I suppose, is just at least to know this, right? And then believe in like what you have to say having value.
Right. I mean, that's that's super. That makes me think of Francis Coppola had a video after Apocalypse. He filmed Apocalypse Now, where they interviewed him, and they asked him about the future of film, and he was like, "You know what I think of the future of film? It's gonna be when this whole illusion and this, bullshit surrounding the big production houses evaporates, and some fat girl in Ohio becomes the next Mozart because she has a video camera in her hand, and she can make a movie. She can wake up and decide to make a movie." It's like that's when I think it will truly become an art form. And I think we're in that phase now where it's everyone can tell a story with their phone.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Like they had that movie, The Creator. It was all shot on Sony FX3.
Oh, that's right, the sci-fi.
So Sony FX3 is like this size, right?
Yeah, I know the FX3, the silver joint.
Yeah, and it's what, like 112,000 NT. It was like $4,000 US.
Right.
Like,
right.
How much was a cinema camera? Like 20 years ago, like Reds and stuff. They're like, I don't know, 10,000 US minimum, and that's without all the like attachments. So you're talking like 20,000 US.
Right.
So it's it's easier than ever to create, and it's easier than ever to actually be successful. Right. It's easier than ever to get access to money, to community.
Right.
Everything's actually more easy to access, but because of the volume, I think people feel overwhelmed.
Exactly.
It's like this discrepancy, like it's hard to detach.
Right.
That's
fascinating too, because that's what I'm super curious about, even in my day-to-day activities here, running this art center, working with artists. It's like, first it's like, why is your story so important? Why do you feel such a need to share it? And then of course, once you have that, then the next question is, how can we envision helping you tell this? And I think that's something you also do at Temporary Truth with even your clients, is help guiding them through these pressures of like, I need to say something, I need to show something. What is that? Where do you think that pressure comes from? Like, actually, like that need to show what you're doing from a company standpoint, and then maybe, of course, artists have a different motivation, of course. But.
Yeah. From a company standpoint, I would say there's proof that branding is the king, right? If you're branded, you are at the top of the food chain, right? So we'll do a little test, right? Give me a company that makes sneakers.
Boom. Popped into my head too quick.
Who?
Nike. Mm-hmm. That's fucked up, Nike.
Computers?
Oh my God. Look at that.
Apple?
Right. It's already like, this is like
soda.
Oh my God.
Cola.
Dude, get out of my head, bro.
Tissues.
Kleenex.
Right?
Oh my God.
Like everybody says the exact same things, no matter what country they're from.
And it makes me feel like, I thought I was a sovereign thinking man. I thought I knew. I thought I had choice. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah.
So like when these brands went like story, more invested in story and branding, right? Yeah. They went for it. They had, and I think like companies need to accept that's one of the truths. That's not, I can do it my way.
Would you say that's an absolute truth? Branding is an absolute truth?
Because it's the same as like a person, right? If you're not interested, like if someone's uninteresting, if you meet someone at an event and they're uninteresting, you don't remember them, you don't care who they are, right? The name card goes in the trash, right? If you get someone as a generic name card with a generic, what do you do? Oh, hi, yes, that's my, blah, blah. You're like, you don't give a fuck, man, right? If you meet someone who's interested, has something to say, has values, stands for something,
right?
You remember them. You got a connection with them, right? And I think everyone is craving connection, Yeah, and like Tony Robbins says too, like the we are starving for truth because there's so much bullshit and fake out there, you know? And the real challenge is if you are working with a brand or even someone's personal brand, brands is they just want ROI now. So they're scared to invest in branding. They also want as much numbers as possible. So they try and go the easy route. But the easy route is the boring person whose name card gets thrown in the trash.
So
right?
true. It happens all the time.
For
Every
people,
every networking event
yeah. And then for
doesn't
people,
change.
for people, it's like insecurity, or they just don't feel that what they have to say is interesting enough or anyone cares. And that's why people avoid their personal branding, I think.
You're talking about this, and then like this painting over here by a Singaporean artist called My Eye, Tiger Nest in the mountains. And it's like the brand is the mountain. Like that. I think about it like I always try to connect what we're going through now. I try to connect it to, you know, a primordial perspective of, you know, when we were in the jungle, what were the first type of brands, right, in the jungle? I feel like they were the mountains. It was like, yeah, I know where I'm at because I see that mountain right there. And like, you just forever know, you looking at it, you know it. And it's like, then of course the trees, the jungle is always changing. It's always, so it makes me think of certain businesses can really build these mountains, psychological mountains that we just never, or I wouldn't say never forget, but like, you know, I'm 35. You look like you're in your early 30s too. We are in this range. I don't know 100 years from now if Apple will still have that psychological real estate, but it's in us. You just tested me on that. Like, how do I think of something else? That's my next question. How do we think of how does the next brand take over that real estate?
I think this is another reason that a lot of brands are scared, right? Because they're like, what's the point? Right. As well, some people are like, I'm just gonna like go here and stay there, you know? I think just being brave and being bold, right? And actually you got to believe in it and invest in it, and you just got to do the right things in the right order, which is like find your purpose, you know, it's all these like branding workshops, you know? But the real issue is with all these sort of branding workshops and brand experts is they don't actually go deep with you. You know, they just kind of like scratch the surface a bit and then give you some bullshit like mission, like inspiring change in the industry. Like what the fuck does that mean? You know, innovating the way people think. Like what?
I want to inspire you.
Who doesn't?
I want to inspire you to change that same directional cue that you've given all of us.
Yeah, it's like just does it make you feel something?
Right.
Like that's the acid test. Did this sentence, what you say, make you feel energized, or any emotion? If there's no emotional,
take me through that technical. Yeah.
Right. If there's no emotional
acid
response,
test.
then it's not working. Right. Like anything that's happened in your life. If I ask you to think of the best moments of your life, they weren't technical. You know, it'll be like one of mine is like holding my grandmother's hand before she died. It's a nice one, you know. There's like that's because it's emotional and there's like gratitude there, you know.
That's real.
It's not like when X money came into my bank account or whatever, you know, like these are not,
so real.
That's not the things on your deathbed that you remember. And I think like we get stuck between, you know, these things, right? Yeah. Cause I do like meditations, in the mornings and things like that. And like, I do like I do the Tony Robbins one usually, which involves like gratitude practice and breathing. And you will think of 3 memories, you know, and different ones, and like ones that come up actually often are like sad ones, but they don't make me feel sad. They make me feel happy. They make me feel like, oh, like I got to do that. I got to feel this. And I think like building up that emotional connection as a creative person or as someone that's trying to help others to build that is super important, because you also can't sell what you don't do, and you can't deliver what you what you can't do either, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole point of learning stuff. If you want to master something, you should release it. Like
Right.
Steve Bartlett, like Diary of CEO, that's like his thing, right? Like to really master something, it's learn it and give it to others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that's like you. I feel like life really is like the more you move into trying to contribute and share and like build things, your life just gets massively better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's innate in within us. And this is why personally, I love meeting new people, interesting, creative, brave, sensitive, empathetic people such as yourself. Because, and this show too, gratitude to this show, we're still very young, but I feel like it's in this really interesting synchronistic pocket. You say a lot of things and it's actually happening right now in my life. Yesterday, my biggest uncle, Dajujo, he passed away. And I just went through that same experience. The family around holding his hand. And it's real, bro. It's real. And I think that's a major theme I want to talk about right now as we segue into empathy. Why is empathy so important for humans, storytellers, creatives, and the non-creatives, people who like to consume or to, when I say consume, sorry, I don't mean to offend you. I just mean we all like to watch a good movie because I think we all want to feel something, right?
Yeah.
So what's empathy to you?
I think like there was also some discussion about like what is wisdom. So I think like to be wise,
right.
like you must have. It's like a mixture of like experience, skills, mindset, and empathy. Because you can't be wise if you don't have empathy.
Right.
You can't contribute, right? You can't have the life you want without empathy, because we are a connection-based species, right? We need other people. There's a Japanese saying. I don't know if they say it in Chinese too, but it's like hito toいう文字はこうだから一人で立てないんだから. It's like you cannot, the character for people is like this, because if it's just like this, it will fall down. So it's like you need other, it's so good, right? Japanese are great, man.
Japanese are very wise. What a shout out Japanese. I mean, shout out
成语.
Chengyu. 对，他们有自己的成语.
Yeah.
For those who don't speak Chinese, Chengyu. I mentioned it on another episode. Chengyu is a poetic quatrain that Oriental cultures use to describe wisdom, learnings, lessons from a plethora of historical references. And then it comes out like, it's like rap lyrics. Like it's like their way of rapping. It's like something will happen and they'll be like, 念念有余. It's like they just know. It's just they connect it like, oh yeah, that's 心手逢下. Like it's like somebody, I think there's one I always forget. I got to get on it, but it's like when somebody gets embarrassed, they turn angry.
Right, yeah.
And they have a Chengyu for that. And that's something I got to tell the West now that we're kind of sitting here. And here you have a man who's traveled many worlds. And he's come back to tell the story that when you're dealing with Asian cultures or people, I think we should all keep that in mind, that there is a reference point or a chronological history that these people are able to access very quickly because of these Chengyus.
Yeah, totally. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
and then you can tap right into it, even if you're foreign, right? Because it's like, there's things like that are absolute truths. It's like you just get bitch slapped. You're like, whoa, when it hit, ooh, that slaps, that hits me. Like, ooh, I learned a new one recently, but I don't know. Tell me. I don't know the Chinese. It's you can't hide a fire with paper, or like you can't cover a fire with paper. So it's like, it's like if you're like raging, if you're angry or something, you're trying to like,
Yo,
I'm fine, but everyone can see. And I
That's
love this one because it's
wow.
like people can see through your fakeness. People can see through
The
you know,
facade.
the facade. Like 你在表面大家都知道啊. So
Ooh.
yeah, and I think
Oh, yeah.
just like accepting this and moving into like authenticity
Mhm.
and like boldness, braveness, because brave doesn't mean being loud. Like I am loud, but being brave.
You got a lion heart.
if
You
you're
got the
in,
lion in
yeah,
you. What is it about the MacGregors and this lion nature? Like, where are you guys descended from?
I don't know. Actually, the lion is the crest. I don't know if you actually did your homework.
No, I didn't.
But yeah, that's the like.
But you feel me?
There you go. Yeah.
Brand.
Mhm.
Brand. Yeah.
Branded MacGregor branded.
Yo, it's
Official MacGregor content.
Yo, shout out all the MacGregors in all your various positions in the world.
But
That's dope.
I got lost. I got too excited.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Mhm.
Being brave and bold doesn't necessarily mean being loud.
Yeah, because like you can be.
Bars.
It's just your way to do it, right? And I think it's don't compare yourself, you know, to other people too much. Like a little bit's okay, but like if you're always in comparison mode, then it's very hard to be in like authentic mode, right? Because you're always looking outside then, right?
Right.
And like what is outside is just feedback. Should just be feedback for the inside. It shouldn't be I need to be like so and so. You should have your heroes. I think you should have some mentors.
Right.
And you should choose which bits of them you
Right.
appreciate and you want to emulate.
Right.
But yeah, there's just so much outward and not enough inward. So was it like, you know, less ingestion, more digestion?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like yeah.
That's real. And that goes right back to the poem, the Chungyu that you shared, Japanese, which is like we need each other for that feedback, right? We need we need to bounce things off each other. I just posted the other day, and I was, again, vanity metrics, right? But it was me in a coffee shop in Malaysia, and in the background, my girl took this picture, and in the background was like a painting of an orangutan sipping coffee. And orangutans are interesting to me because super intelligent, wise creatures, very empathetic, and it put me into the rabbit hole of primates, apes and humans, and our connections. And there's this notion that empathy or being humane is a human thing, and then there's an article about what kind of changed this thought process, that empathy actually exists in all species, especially primates, because they would do things. And there was one case where this one orangutan saved a human's life, right? So it's like empathy transcends.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. There's like examples of animals saving other animals, right? Like
Right.
monkeys saving dogs and stuff like that.
Right.
And like dog, I think there's one, I don't remember if it was a monkey or a dog, but they're on the train tracks and like there's like an animal takes the other one off. you know?
Wow.
So it's like,
Right.
I think empathy is everywhere, but I also think it's interesting because life is competitive as well.
Right.
And
That's
so
an
it can
interesting
be super
balance.
cutthroat. And, it's, most animals are just only motivated by mating, right? It's about
Survival
spreading
and
the
replication.
seeds, right?
Right.
And like,
Right.
like even like with chimps and things like that, right? Like if the alpha male knows you're not his kid, he might murder you. So like the women will have sex with like everyone to make sure like my kid's safe, So there's a lot of like there is this other part of ourselves which I also feel quite strongly about, because there's a massive repression of that side, right?
Let's
of the
talk about that.
violence,
Yes.
and like of
repression of these natures.
So then like it's very complex, Like I feel like this American no negativity, don't insult me, don't like always respect everything about me, is also a slippery slope. There's a lot of, because it's like we are animals. I'm not particularly religious, so I don't believe that like humans go to heaven and animals I don't have no souls. I do think we're animal, and the animal parts of us also need to be nurtured. And I think it's challenging to do that,
Right.
because
For
most
sure.
animalistic things are generally impulsive,
Reactive.
Yeah, and like so.
Emotional.
Yeah.
Influenced by that need to survive.
Right.
I mean, you look around right now, and it's wow, what a time right now. Right, it's a jungle right now. But I guess it always has been.
Yeah,
Maybe we're
it
just
always
finally
is.
seeing it.
It is always the jungle.
It's always been, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Always will be.
Yeah.
Take us out the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of us.
Impossible. Yeah.
How do you be more mindful of that inner beast, that inner animal?
I think it comes with age, comes with age and doing the right thing, right? I think like you learn more about yourself as you get older. I think that reading was a major thing for me. I found it very difficult to focus on anything until like I was about 25. I was like, I couldn't read. Like the words would like move on the pages and stuff, and I basically failed English almost. And I had to go to like redo all my English tests in high school and stuff. That was really difficult. And then I started meditating and doing things like that. And then I started being able to read. And I was like, wow.
The code.
I can read.
The matrix has revealed itself.
And it's so good. Like, you're getting like 10, 20 years of knowledge, 30, 40 years of someone's life in just like that. Yeah. Right? So I think like reading from like the greats, doing your meditation, just having awareness so you can develop some form of impulse control. At least being observant to the point where you see yourself doing something and you can make a conscious decision to still maybe do the wrong thing. But at least there's the stepping stones are there. I really think that anyone on the path, we're all on a path. Right. But I would say the path is if you're moving towards self-actualization of some form, which is having like some form of inner witness and the ability to not go, flip out if people insult you, to be able to take on criticism, to be able to let people have space to be, Alan Watts talks about like the revolving door. I love it. Which is like, you've got awareness, unawareness, and a lot of people get stuck in this door where they never actually go through. They just have flashes of awareness. So this is like a really tricky part where people are like, I see my problem.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Then they go back to doing it, and then I see my problem, and then a lot of people are just stuck here. This is like, some people have this pseudo enlightenment where they think they're done.
We all in that. I'll be in those zones too all the time.
But if you can never fully step through the door, we go back and forth at least. Like that is the path. But if you're stuck here, I think that's when you really need to put in more work, because that's like some deeper stuff that's keeping you in the door, and I think like I recommend, if you don't have solid community, if you don't have really good friends you can talk to, I would say like who you spend your time with matters like a lot, right? Because that's your life. And if you don't have good support, you should find a way to get it. Like you can, if you got to pay for therapy, you pay for therapy. I think like doing like courses, reading, daily simple practice, maybe get into yoga a little bit, like start to understand like your body communicating to you. Because people say body don't lie. Body does lie, but it lies less than your mind. Your mind is just always telling you bullshit. Yeah. Because your mind has one job and one only: keep you alive. Your mind's job is not to make you happy.
Interesting. Yeah.
Your mind's job is is uninterested. So that's why it's only focused on survival and reducing the amount of work and energy it has to do to process things. That's why it's always taking shortcuts. It's always ignoring data. It's always trying to do what fits your view of the world. So like your beliefs, you know, your identity, like who you think you are. People will, in order to preserve their identity and ego, people will say something they know is wrong and stick to it like hell.
Yeah.
Just because your identity is so strong that, like, you know, it's so powerful. And I think it's crazy. You know, you've done it. We've all done it. You've been in an argument with someone.
We've done it.
And you say something and you're like,
done it. We've all,
you know, and you lie maybe. You might make something up to try and be right, you know? And I think like getting away from that part of you, at least being like, hey, okay, like 14-year-old Jamie, like sit the fuck down and shut up.
Right.
We don't need to be right. We don't need to prove anything. You know, we're not in the playground now. It's over, man. Right. We're with other adults now. Relax.
Right.
You know, I think there's all these like, you know,
like we're all trying to figure it out. Everyone's trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I've been doing like a therapist certification as well for like last 2 years.
Nice.
And I've done like a lot of trainings and seminars and things like that. I find for me, like immersive training experiences, so like a week or like 4 days where you go, work really well because you're in a room and you're in this immersive experience with like massive energy, right? And everyone's there to break through or, you know, change something to like crack your ego's shell. Just because that's all you need. You just need one little crack and let the light in. And then it just kind of, it will over time disperse itself if you do the right things slowly, right? You know, and I feel like for me, this is also my sort of kind of contribution, if you like. Like, I think it also comes from my mom and dad, right? They also, Mount Sinai, right? Mental health. And then it kind of bleeds down into me. And then I'm like, okay, so this section of my life now is about mastery, and it's about becoming A+, and maybe just like 3 things instead of the B. Instead of the B- at 10, I'll take A at 3. Okay, and I should not be delusional.
I'll take A at 3. That's a good one.
I don't need A+. But you know, just like I wanna first master like what we've been doing with the brand storytelling and like breakthroughs for like, you know, Taiwanese brands to let them.
That's your 3. All right, branding.
Because like the you know, whatever happens in the West, the US basically gets replicated here, but it happens about 5 years later. And it's happened with everything. Music. Fashion. Movies. Everything just like that happens there happens here. So I feel like branding, personal branding, is really going to kick off here. Because here you got KOLs, but you don't have like cool CEOs and like people on Twitter that everyone's like, damn, this guy's like got it.
I don't even gotta look. I don't even gotta look at my areas. You're already naturally headed into my next area, which is gonna be technical. Right. I want to have a good technical conversation with you.
I'm not the most technical, but
when I say technical, I mean like industry. We're from this industry, so we can have a good, you know, banter about what's happening, what's coming. The highs and lows of it, but continue on that. So through
I think
branding,
first we'll do the. I really want this brand storytelling and like visual productions. Right. I think it's been, you know,
it's been cooking.
Company's been 5 years now. Like I've been running a company, my own company with actual staff, whereas most other production houses are just shells. They don't actually have a team. So like for us, you know, I actually did my own brand breakthrough, self-taught YouTuber. You know, I think from 5 years ago, we were still doing projects for like 50,000 NT. You know, within 5 years, we broke like 5 million NT budget. So we like 100x with no business training, no MBA, no film school. Just, and then like,
sheer will.
Just like literally sheer will. The first 3 years of my company, actually first 2, sorry, I could not afford like bilingual staff, so I ran the entire thing in Chinese with juniors who also no one had been to film school. We had one guy from a pig farm in Taichung. You know, the other girls from like Xinjiang, you know, from the sticks. You know, like really just everyone's
Xinjiang,
the
sticks,
like the bamboo bros.
Xinjiang's not that sticky though. I feel you.
I've been to a place. There's factories, just factories.
Oh, deep
Xinjiang. I see. It's like off the motorway. So we did this with these. Basically, no one knows what they're doing. You know, I'm the most senior, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Like it's just when you have that, we just work it out, right? Like a problem comes, and then there's nothing that you can't figure out,
Right.
right? And so just that, like that experience of being like, I've proved that I can do it myself, and I'm like, so what if we actually get really good at it? Oh, maybe we can do it for others. And then so we're I think there's a lot of companies out there that have good people running them, and they have a good product, and they got like good vision, and I think like helping them to accelerate their journey would really, like, I'd be really happy, because I get pissed when I see like mediocre, boring like work out there, like these ads, and you're like, who the hell? I'm like why did they spend like $60K US on this? Not even to mention the distribution, right? Just the commercial, 60, 90K. Then you got to do distribution. And I think, like, was it Peter Field?
We're in
Peter
NT.
Field.
We're in NT, by the way.
No,
we're in US.
There's US. No, and then like Peter Field did like research into it.
Peter
Cost
Bell,
of doll. It's like he estimates there's between like $2 billion wasted in the US market alone on boring and therefore ineffective campaigns.
Just because it's routine already.
Just because it's like they won't be brave, they won't be bold, they won't actually be authentic. They just want to do what everyone else is doing.
Comfort zone.
And they're just flooding the market with more of the same old shit. And that is sad. $2 billion? Like,
yo.
Yeah. And then these brands don't get ROI. And then, they think things don't work. And then it actually negatively impacts the creative space. Because it's, when you're a creative service provider, you get kind of sheepdogged, right? Into becoming a yes man. Because every time when you have a lot of big corporate, especially in Asia, you get a lot of pushback on bigger ideas.
Right. Because
they want to just do what works. And so this happened to us, like, I think 2 years ago. I became like a yes man. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You want this? Go. Like, and in my heart, I knew this is not gonna get you views. This is not gonna get virality. You're gonna spend, $60,000 US, and like maybe like you might get 1,000 views, and no one's gonna remember this.
Because and everything in your gut is telling you that. I just had I'm kind of getting like, emotional right now. Because I just had a recent, we go through this a lot as creatives, because that's the ancient gladiator battle. The creative advisor versus the bureaucrat. Did I phrase that properly?
Somewhat, yeah. I think it's like it's tough though, because I also,
that's the death match.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I used to be like that as well, right? And like a lot of creative people become kind of like piratey. I think because we're like, oh, like, okay, the clients. There's a lot of people who think the clients are stupid, don't know what they're doing, because the creatives actually don't understand their business.
Right.
And then this creates like that chasm.
Right.
And then it just becomes, oh, well, we'll just charge them as much as we can and just do it because it's just a job. And then I think like we had a period where we became like that, where man,
go through that.
We don't like, we stopped like really actually having our values and living them properly, Right. And it had like a massive thing, like my whole team changed, we were like 7 people, and then like there was just COVID and all this stuff happened. Wow. And we weren't making like great stuff anymore.
Right.
And it was hard to accept that, I think, and look at it in the eye. And so that's why the last year we done like rebranding, and I've been kind of like reading more again. Fire. And trying to be like, because if it was like either go for it or don't do it, right? And so I think go for it has been the sort of
the theme right now.
Yeah, for the last 6 months. But it took a lot of work on my part and a lot of like changing my mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you don't believe, right, that no one's gonna believe, And like I heard this really interesting thing recently, which is like, it's like you bet, right? Your life is like, there's Stephen Bartlett has in your life, you have around 700,000 roulette chips, right? That's your life for the number of hours you have.
Oh, this is crazy.
Right?
This is a crazy
So,
analogy.
so good, right? He's like,
Oh,
that's how many hours you have. Assuming you live to 80, you've got 700,000 chips, right? 500,000 of those are active because you're asleep for 200,000.
yeah.
So every hour of your life is like a bet. So it's like, what are you betting on?
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not betting on yourself, then this is actively, you're actually betting against yourself, right? Every bet you place elsewhere is against you.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Right? So if you like, you have to
be you really got to be conscious of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like you saying that again, heavy synchronicities. I mean, you say you're not so religious, but I can definitely sense you might be very spiritual, whether you accept it or not.
I'm spiritual for sure. I'm just saying I'm not institutionally religious.
Of course. I mean, I've said it a couple of times on this show too. I mean, my view thus far in life is that the religions are like, or the institutionalized frameworks of religion, very powerful, but they're like spokes on a wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And that center truth is something that nothing can touch. We can only ever really just get a taste or a grasp or a sense. It's like feeling the wind almost.
Mm-hmm.
And the closest things that come to that are, in my opinion, artists. These are the closest, if they're really in tune with what you described as like knowing your why and purpose. But just recently I heard, it's funny you mentioned this guy saying it in a roulette form, but like that same quote came from 21 Savage, the rapper, where he was basically like, when you really think about it, if you get 80 years, let's take away childhood, let's take away old age when you can't really do nothing, let's take away the times when you were broke, when you didn't have money to do you and be you, and like, he's like, you only at the end of the breakdown, he's like, you only get 20. You only got like 20 years of really living. What's your take on that, about this scope? How does that make you feel? Does that get you hype? Does that make you feel like, is it scary? What's your take on that?
I think it doesn't matter how many years you have in that sense. That in my opinion depends how you're living, I guess, and what your view is of living. I guess like 21 Cent and I are probably pretty different in our
21 Cent.
Is that what you said?
His name's 21 Savage.
Oh, sorry. Is 21 Cent not a rapper as well?
50 Cent.
No, I'm pretty sure there's
a 21 Cent. There probably is.
I'm too Scottish and too white.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Anyway.
One of those numbers.
50 Savage. When he said that, I think we probably got pretty different. It's insightful and it's true. I think that's very American sounding for me. It's a very US kind of like hustle or die kind of feel to it. But because I think like if you are, I'd say one of the biggest challenges is being non-committal to things. I guess I as a creative person, a lot of us are kind of wishy-washy. We want to have this, but we want to have that. Oh, I like a bit of this, but I like a bit of that. I think when you're pretty like, you have like strong values and you're very committed to things, then you can kind of have your life all the time. Right? Yeah. I think it's very easy to get sucked into just like working your ass off, which unfortunately, when I don't know that many workarounds for that. Right? Like if you don't put in the time
to do the thing, you have to do. It's just doing the thing.
It's very difficult to improve at speed without doing the work. So I think there's a lot of like lies about shortcuts and get rich quick, and there's all these online courses now, like $50, make your own AI agency like overnight. It's like, yeah, you could, but if you don't do the work, like you don't expect the results to pour in. So I think it's just about like relationships are very important, I think. for men and for women. You know, like women need more emotional support in a very solid way. Women don't need you to fix their problems, which is where most of the issues are. We're always like, how can I fix you? How can I be your hero? Like, how can I step into right? Is they don't need you to fix. They just need you to be there and listen, because women are very strong. But they're almost too strong. So they need you to just kind of rock, and that's it. They don't need you fixing them. They don't need you overseeing. And I think but a good woman can make you really strong, because women are more demanding than men, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they need this, they want that, blah blah blah, not good enough. But if you have a woman who's emotionally open, where she lets you, she's not on your ass hard, but she's really supporting you and she does push you, but it's just, there's the bullseye, right? There's comfort zone, and then there's wandering out, which is the growth zone, and then there's wandering out, which is the panic zone, right? As long as you have someone that's just pushing you, and they know when you're in your panic zone, they don't keep pushing you, right? Then I think it's really powerful with relationships. I think in my 20s, I really didn't, especially early 20s, I was just, you're doing what you're doing, right? Yeah. And also interested in these kind of things. And then especially if you're from divorce, or you had these kind of different, maybe your reference point for relationships isn't that great.
Right.
But if you go out and you do the work and you start meeting good people, and you can see how much transformation there can be when you have two people that are aligned, that want to self-actualize, that have connecting values. And by connecting values, I really mean culturally fitting. Doesn't mean same country, or it means you guys actually have a deep connection. And I think the most growth in my life that I experienced was with my one of my previous girlfriends, Helen. So shout out to Helen, who
shout out.
Yeah, she's
that's big.
We really it was what would have taken me 10 years alone took me 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think it was for both of us, as well.
Yeah.
And I feel right now that's what I'm currently single. And I'm kind of looking for this, it's like if you got a company, there's certain hires that can 5x your company or 10x it. If you get the right person, the right position.
Right.
And I feel the right partner is it's an exponential for both of you.
For sure.
Yeah, for both of you. And I don't mean making money. I just mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
it's energy. It's energy.
Yeah, if you're disorganized naturally, and you're with someone who's organized, you've just doubled your efficiency, right?
Literally. Two is a powerful entity.
Yeah, it's great. Was it that I love that the 1 + 1, and then it's 1 + 1 = 11.
Right.
Because that's literally when you get things right, and that's, I think, putting energy and effort and actual attention into your needs and what you really want. Then man, you're I said, 10 years and 2 years, when the things are right. But I feel a lot of this is as you age, your intelligence morphs and your roles morph. And I think I was very in hero mode. I wanted to be the hero. I want to look, I did this, I did that, achievement. And now I'm more I'm 38 in a few months. I'm wanting to move more into sage, which is wisdom,
stoicism,
wise. Yeah, not where's my sword and shield? Let's fight, right? I feel this is the next sort of stage for me, which is why I want to be more in the sort of doing the brand storytelling, growing these brands, growing these people, and then with learning Hakomi therapy, which is a somatic body therapy.
Sound?
Body somatic.
Oh, somatic.
So yeah, it's soma, cells. Yeah. And then it's basically working with memories and your people's child parts or
Oh,
sealed
yeah.
off or missing nourishment,
Oh yeah.
these kinds of
That's deep.
things. Because with me, I felt like there was a point in my own journey where I was like, parts of my mind didn't, I'm like, this isn't me necessarily. There's some thoughts or some patterns where I'm like, I don't actually think
It's an imprint.
I've
from
got it
somewhere.
from
Yeah,
somewhere else. Yeah.
And
then,
it just stuck.
yeah. And I think a lot of people are unhappy or have like,
It's an app. It's an
Yeah.
app from somewhere else that
uh,
you downloaded
Yeah.
off of some weird Wi-Fi
like
that happened
spyware.
to, some spyware that happened to be your dysfunctional parents.
Right. Probably.
That's
but
my story.
I wouldn't know.
Shout out my parents. And with all of it, it's amazing. But
Yeah, mine too. I love them a
Yeah,
lot. They work really hard for me to be able to travel and have a life that I have now. And you know, we've always had a very interesting relationship. Me and my dad. My dad's
bet.
too young, so he's like we was like very into party and stuff. So he's kind of like my brother almost, you know. Just a bit. It's good.
Older brother. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's good now. Now he's like my dad. But there was like a while where it was like he's my big bro.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's really mailed out and things. And then, you know, it's just this amazing thing that when you take the steps first, you know, and you do the work and you approach people with authenticity and like, you know, honesty,
Yeah, that's
they
the hardest
step
part.
out because they know they feel safe. Like you want to create safety for their subconscious mind to step towards you. And then like your relationships with people will just improve exponentially. You know, when you don't have a goal, you're not trying to get something off someone, you're not trying to be right, right? You're just there to be interested and curious in them. Just amazing, you know. I would say I've always had a great relationship with my dad. Me and my mom have had our moments, but we've all put in the work in our way, you know. Like, and it's we have a really a deep and like amazing actual, you know, connection with me and my mom, my dad.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice, man. So, but again,
It evolves.
It doesn't come free though,
evolves.
right?
It doesn't come free.
It's the same like anything. If you don't put in the hours, you don't put in the time, you don't put
The
in
intention,
the effort.
the actual pickup. A lot of you people probably go through all kinds of different elements of highs and lows with your family, but sometimes it really is just about calling, talking, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I had a moment too I can share. I mean, I'm an open book. I do wear my heart on my sleeve a lot, but you know, there was a moment too where I remember I was in New York with my pops. We got into it right at a cafe because I was trying to, you know, investigate a little bit more about like, why are you the way you are with certain elements. Later, I realized that's just me not accepting him. So that kind of blew up into a situation. We're kind of arguing. But at this point, I'm older. It's like, I don't even live at your house. I can just leave the cafe. Like, I'm out of here. You know, but then there's a moment too where it's like, there's a recognition sometimes. Dad realizes, oh shit, my son could leave and never talk to me again. So in that moment, he decided just like, yo, I'm sorry. Like, yo, come back. I'm sorry. But like, and that's the work I think you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, men are, you know, the man's job is to, the father's job is to train the boy to be a man. So you got to be tough on boys, and you know, you got to be hard on them. And then when you transition into adulthood, the boy is a man, but perhaps the father hasn't yet realized that. So sometimes, you know, men are weird, right? Like this is why sometimes you just got to have it out. You know, maybe not fisty have it out. But you know, I've had some extremely heated, to put it lightly, interaction with my father.
All my best friends know.
Like,
all our best friends know what we've been through.
But you know, like, and that's because he needs you to show him, I'm a fucking man.
Yeah, consciously or subconsciously,
right?
It's there. Yeah. Are you gonna be good out there on your own?
I am now. I'm the man.
Right.
So you can stop.
Right.
Because they worry about you and they don't know how to. They show it through this that's way. You know.
I don't have any children yet. My younger brother is expecting his first November. Do you have any children?
No.
You hope to?
Well,
you're evolving right now.
I do. I wouldn't mind. Yeah.
That's dope.
I would like, but yeah. Let's see.
Another side question, just off of what you mentioned about your relationship that really impacted you. I think that's fire because just like you said, a book, you can read a book and just download 40 years. That relationship is like, that's the organic book, video, movie, everything. I think anyone knows when you're in a relationship with another human being, whatever gender, whatever it is, when you're in that energy sequence, there you are just uncovering so much. Have you heard of fearful, avoidant, anxious attachment theories? You've heard of those things? I just recently kind of went into those topics too. Very fascinating about what you mentioned, childhood trauma that creates these attachment styles in us as we move through life. Is that what some of the work you're talking about is, that you kind of had to face those attachment styles within yourself?
I suppose, yeah. I think I'm more like avoidant type. Yeah. So I can work pretty well with other avoidance as long as they're aware, I guess, right? I don't work well with anxious, because then anxious, like avoidant is pushing and anxious is grabbing.
Clingy, yeah.
So yeah,
anxious,
it doesn't work too well.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like if someone lets me have space, I'm fine. But it took me a while, yeah. I feel like even getting to the stage of being able to understand and perceive myself as a certain way of being, that's a lot of work in itself, because I think reading, and then you can do tests, so you can read about it. I think I read that attachment theory, and then read about like love languages, things like that, because it's just it's just skills, right? There's there's tools you can use,
right,
to do a better job at things. So it's like, don't just treat your job like work, like you are a work in progress. Everything you do is, you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to finish this work until you're dead, and then it still won't be finished. It just means you won't be able to do it anymore, but it's fine, right? And like, I think the biggest learning is getting to it's fine. Because in the beginning, perfectionism, fear, that's not good enough. Oh, I can't believe I'm still like this. Beating yourself up. I can't believe I did that again. And then transitioning into being responsible, but forgiving yourself and allowing that. Because when you've got space, everyone around you has space as well, right? That's kind of also about like making empathy and seeing from other people's point of view. Yeah, I think just making difficult decisions easy, or like heavy topics, discussing heavy topics lightly. Like, these are the kind of skills you want to be able to get into. Right. Like, if you're unable to express yourself, then just slowly work on it. Find a way that works for you. If you can't do it vocally, write it. Give someone a letter. Like, like this.
That's great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like the expectation. Like, I think learning to avoid unvoiced expectations is the biggest one for me, because that was a problem in my previous relationship. Actually, I did want to have like a kid, and I wanted to get married and all this stuff. I never ever thought I would ever say anything like that.
Right.
But like, I asked her, but I asked her too kind of casually. I didn't ask her with power. I didn't ask her with like certainty, because I still wasn't able to voice how I feel sometimes. Because I feel like
you didn't do the work. You weren't that.
Just like, I think it's like getting over these things, because then it turns into unvoiced resentment. And if you can't articulate your feelings and you don't know how you feel, it complicates your interpersonal relationships.
Right.
So I think like you really need to be able to go like, again, it comes back to, what do I want? Like, why do I want it? Why is this important to me? Is this important to me? Do I need this? Do I just want to, like, if you're unable to untangle yourself, everything you do will suffer.
That makes me think of exactly what you said of the Alan Watts theory. Sometimes that door might not be what is that? It makes me think like the door is not necessarily one door.
Yeah.
But like this door could be the vanity door.
Yeah.
And then this door could be there might be a reality door, transcendent door, self-actualization door. But a lot of times I feel like we are facing a lot of the, like when you think of vanity, what else do you think of? Vanity, what else?
You mean like about like your ego or like
ego,
envy, jealousy, these kinds of things?
Right, those, the seven deadlies, right?
Yeah.
The class, the archetype, the brands.
They always get you, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I think about those doors too, because, when you mention relationship, of course, we're all going through it, same as me. I think about those motivations. Where's it coming from? Is it a vanity metric? Did you feel like it's because I'm this age that I need to have kids, right? And I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking about like a lot of, friends and family that I have who are going through these thoughts of like these pressures.
Yeah. I mean, how do you really know, right?
Right. What is pressure to you?
Know.
Is it important? Is it necessary? I think a lot of you talk about the work.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the concept of pressure and like.
Well, is it pressure makes diamonds, right? Some people say that, right? Yeah. Pressure makes diamonds.
No pressure, no diamonds.
Right? And yeah. Again, though, it's about managing that, like one ring off the bullseye. Comfort zone, growth zone, panic zone. You don't want to be in panic. You can dip in and out, but if you're constantly overly pressured, you are going to burn out, get sick, fail. There's no other like results from it if you're constantly living in that area. So I think it is necessary to suffer, and I think like the way you view suffering is also really important. If you're like me and you're kind of artist, entrepreneur, hybrid, and you're sensitive like I am, then a lot of these things are very important to you, right. Whereas there's other people that aren't like that, right? Like I have like a partner, Simon, who's also very sensitive in his way, but also very tough. And I'd say like comparatively, I'm way more sensitive,
Right.
So a lot of these things that are mega important for me might not be so important for like, let's say Simon, or like, you've got different kinds of entrepreneurs. Like you got like your Tony Robbins or your Alex Hormozi, very different kind of people, right? Steve Bartlett, also a different kind of person. So there's all these sort of millionaires or mentors or people to look up to, like spiritual leaders like Sadhguru or something, you know, all like these, there's so many amazing people out there. So pressure is, I think, is important because you need to grow and you need to be challenged to grow. And basically, like, if you're not growing and you don't feel connected, you're probably unhappy. Probably, right? That's kind of the base of people, right? There's like, I think it's like 6 human needs is like certainty, uncertainty, I think connection, love, growth, right? Then you go up and then there's like contribution at the top, right? Which we
self-actualization
went into but didn't. And I feel like this is my part of my sort of mastery point is that I want to get into this mastery of something that then unlocks the time, the money, and the wisdom to really sage and then start to redistribute, Right. Yeah, because like I think the next 3-5 years it will be sort of the build, like finishing what I've built.
That's amazing.
And then the next will be moving into more like therapist role, trying to do some community stuff, right? More about just directly helping. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because like you feel, like you feel good when you give, right? Like when you're giving and you learn to be generous and let go of things, like it's so rewarding than like, clinging on to things.
Yeah, I love to give. I love to give freely. I wish we were in a new, or I think we are moving. Let me say it out loud. I wish we will become a more giving currency society, economy where we're just really like sharing resources at this highest level, especially with the help of AI and whatnot. Transitioning to that future, how do you feel about this whole AI technological advancement in the industries? Are you excited about it? Are you hesitant about it? How do you feel?
I'm not hesitant because it's unavoidable. I would say there's a mixture of a little bit of fear because, like you've seen what Sora can do with making videos, right? And then like Claude is nuts. Like it's all nuts.
It's wild.
Mid-Journey's nuts, and it went.
Let me show you what my imagination is seeing.
This is crazy.
Literally.
So, but I think it's the same as everything, right? Like technology is, terrible master, but it's the best servant, right? So when it controls us, it is extremely dangerous. But when we are able to utilize it for our own needs without being addicted or absolutely reliant on it, I don't think it's too big a concern. But I mean, it'll be like, it'll just be in everything, right? It'll just be like in your phone and you'll just forget about it. It was like Web3, then it was like 4G, 5G, NFT, blah, blah, blah. Now it's AI. It'll be something else in a few years. Like it's an amazing tool and we use it in our work. And it's great for refining things. It can be really good for a starting point or a kind of finisher that you then go and polish. But I think it would just make people at the bottom will be even less worth anything. And I think critical thinking will be more valued. So I think like it will actually contribute to the wealth disparity. Yeah, I think it will push even more. Like, because if you give someone, if you give someone who's not very experienced, okay, and maybe they're not highly intelligent as a problem solver, if you give them AI, they're not going to do anything with it. Yeah. It's like if you gave like a master swordsman a blunt sword, he would still murder you. If you give the sharpest blade, to someone who's never used it before, they can't, they might get lucky and cut your head off, but I would say like for me, it's about the person using it. And I think the value of critical thinkers is going to go way up.
Right. That's what I'm excited for too.
So there's
in a way, there's a gap that I feel like, especially doing this now here with this show, is I just want to start creating a space now that these, people who get it, people who are on this frequency of critical thinking, creativity, but also soul searching and doing that inner work, can have a reference point to find their new role in this future world that's coming.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would just say like don't get left behind, right? Yeah, because like there's always, when there's disruption, there's opportunity. Right. Some people lose, some people win. It's the scales, right?
Yeah, that
pendulum. They just right? You cannot. Life is always in some sort of balance. So, if you're,
I don't know why you did that. I just thought of big jiggly tatas. He said, "Don't tell." That shit's heavy.
Yeah, it's true though. But like, you gotta
leave it to MacGregor to stop.
No, but you gotta learn. I would say like if you're whatever age you are, you should be doing a course on it, right, within the next 12 months. Because if you cannot use it well, like I actually just told someone yesterday, I was like, look, like you with no AI is your 30 hours employee, right? Because you got 40 hours a week, right? That's you got 10 hours where you're just fucking about, right? Because you're like not focused, you're tired, whatever. Oh, you're checking your phone, right? So it's 30 hours if you don't use AI. If you use AI, I would say you're at least worth 45 hours. I would say you're gonna save at least 10 hours a week.
That's great. Yeah,
I would say.
Looking at it like
so
that.
Yeah, so if you're going to get a job and they say, "Can you use AI?" and you go, "No," they're gonna be like, unless you're so shit hot and smart that they're like, "Okay, we'll buy you a course and you can learn it in your first month." But I feel like you're going into interviews and things like that, and you're not able to use it, like you don't know what Claude is, you don't know what Sora is, you don't even use ChatGPT, then I would be massively turned off as an employer. I wouldn't hire you.
Let's transition right into that technical aspect too. Bring me back to, you said you crossed 5 million, right?
Like one project.
Right. Hey. From that, sometimes I like to tell my clients as well, like in terms of bringing things to fruition, it's like a pot of boiling water, or before it boils, keep that heat going, keep that fire going. But when that combustion happens, it happens fast. Yeah, it happens powerfully and violently, almost. Is that similar to like what happened with your company? Like, what was that work? And like, what?
Yeah, it's similar. I think this is also in Think and Grow Rich. I think Napoleon Hill, he has like a line. It's when riches do finally come, they will come in such abundance that you won't believe it.
Right.
And it's just like suddenly we just went like.
And before that, it was like grinding.
Yeah, it was still grinding after, but it was very profitable grinding comparatively, right? I think our first big break was Uber Eats. So we were doing like the Uber Eats campaigns here. Nice. With like Chen Handian and Dai Zing, the badminton player.
Nice.
That was that's a few years ago now. But from that, those were like pretty viral ads actually.
Fire.
Yeah, and people saw them, and then you worked on that.
I've probably seen some of your stuff.
You worked on that, oh my God. And then
that's you.
We got people are like, oh, and then we get
that's
some.
You, Jay?
You get invited some pitches for other things, right. And then we did like, we started doing like projects just got crazier, right? So it was like we did some commercial for like ROG, like Asus ROG, Republic of Gamers, and it's like we had like a real horse. And like we had on the set, and I'm like, what
and you were just like, this is my dream.
Yeah, I got a real horse on set. We had like a guy in like a suit of armor, but like real armor and like sword, and like just like we managed to get into like some more crazy stuff.
Yes, production budget.
Yeah, yes. I was like, just and like, when you got the trust, it's like I don't want to say it's a sad fact, but it is a fact that if you are an artist out there or whatever, yes, you probably can do the work. Like, yes, you probably are talented enough. The work is going to someone else just because of trust. And that's that you need to kind of accept that. So your boiling point or your brand breakthrough, which is kind of what you're saying, right? Sometimes, man, there's another like analogy I love with bamboo. So it's like bamboo grows underground for like 2 years.
Wow.
Before it comes like out.
I didn't know that.
And then it's like the fastest growing like sort of it's not a tree but kind of, right? It's one of the fastest vertically growing like plants, vegetation in the world. Because bamboo. It's like and then it just it's and then so it's like that. It's like the boiling pot where suddenly the lid flies off, right? It's if you're doing the right things in the right order, again, this is what it comes down to, right? Like, as like Simon from the other company, Compound, says, and so like Hermosi and like, Keith Cunningham from like, Road Less Stupid, or like Donald Miller from like Story Brand. They're like, you do the right things in the right order, and then you get a brand breakthrough. When you try and do it in the wrong order and skip steps, you still get it, but it will take longer. And I really believe that.
Trust the process.
You have to, because if you it's like, it'd be like you're baking a cake and you're like, fuck the recipe. Like, I do what I want, and then you're like, it doesn't taste good. And you're like, well, duh. Exactly. You might be a good cook, sure, but like, just like if you want that thing. And there's billions of people that have done it, and they said, I did it like this, and I've launched 20 businesses and exit. No. Then maybe they know how to do better than you, right?
Right. I love when Hormozy was like too. It's like life is like a baseball game, but with infinite time. Just keep swimming. You're gonna hit your homer, and that homer can actually make you rich forever.
Yeah.
So just keep at it, keep swinging.
Yeah.
You mentioned the 3 things you wanted to be an A at, hopefully. One was the the branding.
Yeah.
Second
Branding,
was
visual storytelling.
second was the inner work, right? That you said
Yeah.
to say. What's the third one? You didn't get to the third yet, or is that in the pocket, in the back pocket?
I think the third is I mean, I think underpinning everything is like connection for me, I suppose. So I think if I just do the first two well, like the third thing will kind of fall into place, you know. I think like relationships are important to me
Yeah.
right now, particularly I feel. And then you know, like creating, I think, you know, it's when you're always doing business and like launching things and doing this, like creative can sometimes take a bit of a backseat actually,
Right.
you know, because you're busy doing the, you know, you're going after the numbers and you're closing things and you're doing deals and you're talking to people. Like I get to be creative in our pitches and I get to be creative in talking to people, you know, because
Right.
that is creative.
Right.
Like this is creating something, right?
Right.
You're always creating something,
Right.
you know. I don't have this like, you know, very thin view of
Right.
what creative is to me. But I think just like, yeah, my career is important, my growth is important, and then my sort of spiritual practice and play, you know, is also really important, you know.
That's
Like
key.
yeah, like yeah, last year I started a band. Was it this year maybe? I don't know.
Oh, dope.
Started like someone saw me at a music festival playing flute.
That's
And I
fire.
was like, "Oh, you're really good." And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "You want to play on my next like thing?" And I was like, "Okay." So then I just made a band. Like we didn't have. I just lied. I said, "Yeah, we've got a band."
That's fire.
And then
That's
we
dope.
rocked it, man. We like killed it. So like,
I gotta
just-
come to the next show. I'm down
yeah,
to see
well,
it. That's dope.
yeah. I mean, it's just like you can. Life's funny like that, you know.
Yeah.
You can like. That's not skipping steps, though, right? It's like, you know, he asked me, "Do you have a band?" I'm like, "Okay, I definitely know. I've got the who, and the how is we practice,
Right.
and why? Because it'll be fun. Let's do it.
Right.
You know, do it.
Right.
You know, you don't say if someone says, "Hey, do you have a band?" and you don't know anyone that plays instruments,
Right.
then you don't say yes. You know,
Right.
like it's like you can do the entrepreneur, build the plane on the way down. Like you jump off the cliff and build the
Right.
plane going down, but you need to have the parts. I need to know how to do it.
That's a cool
Somewhat.
phenomenon. I like that
You know?
phenomenon. It took all. That reminds me of another Chung Yu, the classic. Takes 10 years to master the calligraphy that happens in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect. It's like you know what you're capable of. That in that moment, he's like, "Do you have a band?" You're like, "I do have a band."
Yeah.
Because you know the work it would have to take, the people,
Yeah.
the organization. You also have been running a company for the last five. So it's like,
and that's like about being mature
yeah,
as an adult and not being like, you don't want to be like a cowboy builder or like a creative that just like kind of, you don't want to deceive
know your
people
capabilities.
because they will catch you out and then you'll get churn and your clients leave you, right? Because they see through it. They're not stupid,
Right.
you know. Like
No one is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess everyone's potentially intelligent.
Yes. Very well said.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the third thing right now, yeah, maybe kind of a little bit, yeah, family focus, I guess, of some
That's
sort.
dope.
Yeah, just relationship and connection.
That's me leading towards, as we kind of, again, I haven't broken the 3-4 hour mark on a podcast yet.
Okay.
Lately, we've been kind of hitting 1 hour 20. I think,
Mm.
what are we at right now? 140. So look, we already
Wait.
breaking records slowly. But my next, the final segment is what I call peak phenomenon. That top, Maslow's top piece is when you start experiencing flow state, peak phenomenon, which comes from a very self-actualized, high self-esteem, all basic needs are covered, which is what my dream is, to imagine a world and help facilitate a world where, let's say, 1 million people are enlightened and are in this self-actualization state. I think that would be very interesting. So right back to you. What's your next dream that gets you gets those
Excited.
cheeks? Yeah, gets those cheeks cheesing.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah, Jesus. I don't know, man. There's I get excited about a lot of things. So I think it's just those next few mountains, I guess, right? I
Nice.
think I would like to see I would like to, like I said, finish what I started with Temporary Truth
Nice.
and make it like really like into like a solid, mature entity that has like quality team members that care about each other. You know, they grow together, they work together, they help like the clients meet their needs.
Nice.
You know, I think that's like one. I think, and then it's kind of just goes back to what I want to master. I think, right? You know, I would like to see like in, you know, within the next 10 years, I would definitely, you know, then like to be involved in therapy more
That
heavily,
kind of work, yeah. I see what you're saying.
and you know, helping to add a bit of healing, right? Add more awareness.
Nice.
You know, hopefully get into some charity.
Nice.
You know, like if I have amassed wealth, you know, start distributing that.
Right.
Because now I'm kind of on the cusp where a lot of things are starting to make sense. I'm no longer in a position where I have to worry about money because I'm not like an extravagant spender or anything like that.
Right.
You know, I'm pretty like, you know, like this is free, right?
Yeah.
You know, and there's not much better than this. So, you know, it's like just being grateful, I think. So
That's beautiful.
yeah. And then you know, yeah, you know,
I guess it can be a deeper question.
It's kind of simple for me. I
Yeah.
think. I'm not looking at like, you know, I've dropped
Yeah.
some names today, right? Like
Yeah.
there's like Hermosi or Robbins or like even Crystal or like, you know, these people that I look up to. I also
Right.
don't want what they have.
Right.
I don't want like Hermosi's like he's so jacked. He can't walk straight. You know, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He just works like what 18 hours a day or something. Like, no,
Everybody has
I'm
their
like, no
path,
thanks.
as you
know,
said. Yeah.
I like if you can help. You know, like even if you just help 10 people, you know, and you didn't hurt 10 people, you know, you're already leaving a positive impact. Like leave the world better off than when you came into it to the best of your ability. I think is kind of like a thing I try to do day by day, and I am doing it. I've been doing it for years.
Nice.
You know, you see someone homeless or whatever, you like say hi, have a chat, whatever. Be nice to people. Let someone go in front of you at the door. Like even just basic manners is a simple thing, but you know, like noticing people, showing genuine gratitude for things. You know, being interested in others, like letting them feel important. You know, just it's not really like where I'm going.
Yeah.
It's more like I'm just kind of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing with these like lofty goals and all that. Like sometimes they can be an illusion because you're always waiting. If I have X, then I can Y. Is that we're all guilty of this? Oh,
Right.
if I just had.
Right.
But like, what, you know, why not do it now, right? Like why not do, you know, the small things, you know, and then that's it, right?
Place
little
those
tiny
chips.
bits.
Yeah, place those chips.
So I would also love to leave like more awareness and like you know, enabling people like I said to challenge their view of what is true and to have more space to be and to create that space and give it to others.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like you build little communities and you nourish each other, and then you know, living and learning.
Yeah.
Right, the infinite banana, right, or the infinite onion. You can never peel it. You know, like no matter what, there's always another layer. You know, there's always another level, and that's the thing, right, with business. Like I think you can always go up if you want. You know, but like you gotta know. You know, are you in the hamster wheel? Or, you know, are you in a hamster wheel? Are you in a downward spiral, upward spiral? Like, where do you really want to go? Because again,
I like me some upward spirals.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're never really still.
Yeah.
You're improving or you're degrading. You know, you're growing or you're dying. Like this is the way it is. Nothing in nature is stagnant.
Right.
You know, there's no straight lines in nature.
Right. That's true.
There's no actual perfectly.
It doesn't
Everything's
exist.
like a little bit bendy or something. You know,
That's true.
all straight lines are made by humans. If you see a straight line, you know a human made it.
That's true.
So you're never on a straight line.
And before we kind of go off, are there any I would say any beliefs that kind of that drive you that are unconventional? Is there something that you're into for our audience to hear that you'd like to leave for us in terms of, like, you know, something beyond? Because I like, you made me think of that as you said, nothing in this world has straight lines.
It's true.
Like, where's that coming from? Is there?
It's just true, right?
It's very true.
It's just true.
It's
Like,
very
you know,
true.
look at any tree, any leaf, anything, any stone. You know, there's nothing. All the cells in your body, like, you know, I think there's some interesting things. Like, you know, every 7 years, every single cell in your body has died and been replaced. All of them. So there's you at 7 years old has 0 cells from when you were born.
It's completely transformed. Yeah.
It's cool, right?
No, very cool.
It's crazy. So like, it's like, what are you?
What are we? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you're not your body, because your cells have totally been replaced. If you're 21 3 times, 28 4 times. Wow, right? Cool. So like, if you're not your body, and like a Sadhguru has meditation, which is, I am not the body, I am not the mind. And so inhale is, I am not the body, I am not the mind. It can get quite like surreal if you do that one for like a long time.
Wow.
But it's also very nice because it can like actually give you distance. It's not necessarily maybe you are your body or your mind or not. You don't even need to look at it spiritually. But this meditation distances you from yourself. So it takes you into that like observer mode. You're
Nice.
like, oh. And so it gives you space. So if you're like really overwhelmed or whatever, or a lot going on, it makes it easier to see yourself. Unconventional wisdom
/ practice.
I mean, like,
I'll pull a tarot.
don't know,
I'll pull a tarot card every now and then.
Yeah.
See what the day has
Okay.
ahead.
okay. I think like I don't know how unconventional I am. I get up, I do like stretching or yoga or something. I meditate most days. I'll do at least one of them. Yeah, not always. And then I usually cycle to work, you know, like hot or not, you know. If it's super sweaty, I take a change of clothes and I work. And my ways of work are unconventional.
Yeah.
I would say like, you don't do what everyone else is doing, you know, except the people who you are trying to replicate or emulate. Do what they do if they're the greats. But if everyone is doing HDR photography, don't do HDR photography. Do something else. Like, don't follow the pack, because then you're just, you know, a blade of grass in a field. You know, which grass do you want? I don't, like, whatever. You don't care, right? I think finding your way to do things and what makes you special, and then how to make that a process. This isn't just a business thing. Like, how to make what's special about you into a process for your life, and understanding it is like really important, because that will be what differentiates you from others, you know. And I think the inputs matter more than the outputs. You know, you can get lucky on things and have really great results of something, but you didn't really put great effort or intention or action into it. So I think pay attention to your inputs. Don't follow the pack. You know, really know when something's for you and it's not. You're not just doing to please.
100%.
You know, don't people please. You know, be generous, be kind, but don't people please. It's not the same thing. Yeah, and you know, just when you're younger, try stuff. you know,
All day.
yeah,
all
just
day.
try different things, see what you like. Like
Gotta
learn
play.
to know yourself, learn to love
Right.
yourself, learn to,
Right.
because you're gonna spend a lot of time with yourself. So, make it enjoyable. Yeah.
Well, on that note, today it was a pleasure to spend some of my time with you, Jamie, and I'm very grateful for everything you've shared with us today.
Yeah.
Wisdom, your experience, your humor,
Yeah.
and I really am looking forward to learning more about Temporary Truth Creative. And I feel like a lot of people listening, if they have been following your journey already, this was an amazing way for them to see a lot of the core values and the driving forces that come from you behind this company. And
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard for people to keep a lot of space in their mind for you to be more than one person. So this is also a challenge, right? When you're a complex person, people can't digest you well.
brand.
So they just they just think, okay, this is why you present yourself as one thing usually, because people, there's people that will still think, oh, are you still doing photography? Because they saw me being a photographer somewhere and they can never detach from it.
Right.
Even if you tell them differently. So I think like
It was just one sword, my friend.
yeah. But most people can't digest that. So it's like, who do you want to put forward is important. And yeah, it's very interesting talk.
I had a great time, and I'm
appreciate
happy we were able to put you forward in this regard. And
Yeah.
how can people follow you? Instagram. Let's talk socials. What are the links?
Oh yeah, I thought you meant like my address. And I can
If you want to send,
I usually use like to work.
I heard he needs a new Black Magic. If you want to send him a new Black Magic.
No, actually, no. I Sony. Sony all the way.
Sony all the way.
Sony all
Sorry,
the way.
Sony. Sorry, that's an old story, Sony.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think on Instagram is just being Jamie MacGregor, because it's after one of my sort of other heroes, which is Frank Yang.
Oh.
So being Frank Yang, I copied him, and
All the greatest artists steal.
Yeah. And then obviously Temperatures Creative on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
LinkedIn is the same. Jamie MacGregor, MAC.
Yay.
Yeah. No TikTok. Sorry, guys. I don't do this. Not yet.
Yeah.
I never say never. Never say never.
You'll have to see that in person, ladies.
Yeah.
All right. He's single. He's out here. But nonetheless, Jamie, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Mr. MacGregor.
Thank you. See you, man.
See you soon.
Thanks so much for having me.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
also, Armel.
All right, guys.
Peace.
See you next time. Yes, sir.